A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. This is a reading from the Jerusalem Bible. Jesus began to make it clear to his disciples that he was destined to go to Jerusalem and suffer grievously at the hands of the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, to be put to death, and to be raised up on the third day. Then, taking him aside, Peter started to remonstrate with him. "Heaven preserve you, Lord," he said. "This must not happen to you." But Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are an obstacle in my path, because the way you think is not God's, but man's." And then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone wants to be a follower of mine, let him renounce himself and take up his cross and follow me. For anyone who wants to save his life will lose it, but anyone who loses his life for my sake will find it. What then will a man gain if he wins the whole world and ruins his life? Or what has a man to offer in exchange for his life? For the Son of Man is going to come in his glory with the Father and his angels, and when he does, he will reward each one according to his behavior." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Good morning. Father Francis here on this 22nd Sunday in Ordinary Time. Many of you know I've been working for the last 18 months on looking at health and fitness in my own personal life and sharing some of those insights with you. Not to say that I have any blinding insights. Again, it's kind of interesting, on a weekly basis I try and make this little homily video, and I realize now that probably every priest in the known world has their own YouTube site. So I'm just one small, insignificant voice amongst many, thousands, tens of thousands of people, and we're all trying, I think, in our own way, our own unique way, to be witnesses and be people that point the way to, again, Jesus, saying, if you want to know the way, the truth, and life, well, certainly it's, I don't need followers and I don't look for followers. I'm just one priest in thousands who are simply trying to use the modern medium to, share their personal faith journey with others, and to where that's helpful, great. Again, I don't offer a lot of, I'm not here to promote myself or books that I've written or anything like that. It's just sharing basically pretty, ordinary, if you will, personal insights into the mystery of life and faith. So to where that can help people, great, So, and the reason why I say that is because, there are a lot of people in the world who want to share with you their special brand, if you will, of advice. In the last 18 months or so, I've been struggling, and I think that's a fair word. It's not been an arduous struggle, but it has been, to some extent, a little bit of a struggle to really look at my health and say, okay, what needs to change? Because something has to change, or my health was just basically at that precipice and it was just going to go straight down. And I know that. The doctor was very clear about, unless I did something to radically change the course, the trajectory of my life, it was going in a very, it was going in a place that was very dangerous. Fortunately, I was able to kind of read those signposts along the road and say, I need to do something radical here. I need to turn around. I need to find a different way. I need to find a different course in my life. So, I've been studying a lot about health and nutrition. There's lots of wonderful, I think, information, certainly on the internet. However, there is a lot of confusion out there. Do you go, what kind of a diet is good for you? Is it the whole plant, vegan kind of road, which eschews animal products of all kinds, no meat, dairy, eggs, it's all verboten, Or do you kind of maybe subscribe to a paleo approach, which incorporates meats and vegetables, seeds and nuts, some fruits, no sugar. And again, if you look at both of those, which they seem kind of opposite to each other, they actually have a lot of overlap. Again, one of the big overlaps is they both tell you that you need to avoid not only the junk fast foods, but you also need to avoid processed foods. And those are two things they have in common. Another thing they have in common certainly is their endorsement or their recommendation that we need to have more vegetables and fruits in our lives. Even a paleo approach allows for fruits, maybe not as many as another popular diet, but still there's a lot of similarities, and yes, there is a lot of confusion. And again, I'm not going to talk about that today, but again, you're welcome certainly, obviously, to choose to investigate nutrition and health for yourself and find out what works for you, what's going to be a benefit to you. But in regards to health and nutrition, I noticed today one of my favorite people in the blogosphere, Mr. Mark Sisson. And I'll be honest, Mark Sisson is a radical. He's awesome. He's a man. Again, now I don't believe I don't know if he's a Christian or not. And again, I'm not trying to say that here's a guy who's really a good Christian and we need to listen to his message. That is not what I'm saying. Again, I don't know his faith background, if he even has a faith background. But as far as health and nutrition goes, he's kind of a role model to a lot of guys, especially middle-aged guys like me, because he's in his early 60s now. I'm getting close to that 60 mark in a few years. And he sports a dynamic physique for a man of his years. And more importantly, he seems to have a vitality of life and as well as fitness. And again, where a lot of people, say in his age, may not be doing and faring so well because they didn't read those signposts of warning earlier in life, and now they are having to live with some of the choices that they made early on that possibly they could have reversed and even avoided had they decided to really look seriously at their health. Now, the thing I'm talking about Mark Sisson is because today I noticed he offers now, for those who are really into the Primal Blueprint, that's his that's his key to fitness, the Primal Blueprint. He has lots of books on the Primal Blueprint, from a cookbook to the actual, if you will, philosophy of the Primal Blueprint, even a home study, kind of a 21-day program for people that want to really put these principles into practice. But now I find out that he's actually offered another level of involvement for his followers, and that is this new certification program, which will help you to learn more about the intricacies and the philosophy, if you will, of the 21-day Primal Blueprint way of living. And I thought that was interesting because when we look at the gospel today, Jesus is clearly on his journey of his real destination. And this has to be said, I think, and this is something that we I think we overlook in the church today. I don't think we do it intentionally. I don't think there's any kind of conspiracy theory thing going on. I'm just thinking that we as human beings, we tend to be very subjective. We all are. If we aren't feeling good, we focus on ourselves. If we're into something, we're kind of like, wow, this is what I'm doing today. I'm guilty of that, I suppose. I think we all are to some extent. And what happens is we kind of subjectify the Christian message. In other words, how does it really relate to me? In other words, to make it significant or relevant. And Jesus really takes this kind of notion, if you will, and he really turns it upside down. Because he's like saying, no, you need to follow me. You basically need to almost, he doesn't almost say it, he does say it. You need to basically negate your life. And I'm not saying, when I say negate, I'm not talking about committing suicide or destroying your life, but you do need to not make your life the focus. If you're going to be a follower of Jesus, you have to follow his way of life. Now, again, we've made things so subjective because now the Christian message is almost like, well, it's almost a message that's kind of like tailor-made. Well, what kind of Jesus do I want? It's almost like we go to this little shop and we kind of shop around for a Jesus that is comfortable and convenient and accommodating for us, And we really need to take a look at that, because a lot of people today, I saw a blog about a gentleman, I guess it was some gentleman, who had some issues with the church. And I guess people have issues with the church. We all know that. And it's sort of like, well, why can't the church accommodate my lifestyle? Why can't the church, see that my lifestyle is basically good, and endorse that and promote that? And again, sorry to say, but there are a lot of things in this modern cultural world that the world is running to embrace that are contrary to the gospel of Christ. Now, some of those things are clearly problematic with the teachings of Christ and the teachings of the church. Some of those, although they may not be wrong on the surface, they may be actually good. For example, one of the things that a lot of people are really kind of promoting, there's a couple things, women's ordination, they promote that a lot. Why can't women be ordained? It's not that women can't be ordained, it's just that the church doesn't allow for that. It's not meant to be an issue, and yet so many people want to now make that an issue. Why can't priests get married in the Catholic Church? Again, people want to make that an issue. And so the thing that has to be remembered is that when we're called to follow Christ, we don't give him a list of, well, this is what I want, Jesus. We've kind of lost sight of that. We've kind of, again, because we focus the message so much on what is, us, me, we forget it's all about him. And he invites us to follow him in a very unique way. And we have to become honest and humble and accepting and obedient and teachable, because if we don't, we're going to miss that way. Whether you want to join a fitness group of people, and they're going to tell you how to do certain exercises in a certain way. They're going to tell you how to do a certain diet. And the one thing that you will find if you decide to do it, if you want to decide to say, wait a minute, that's not the way I do that exercise, or that's not the way I eat, all you're going to do is cause frustration for everybody concerned, but mostly for yourself. Because again, you are going to try and, with your own pride, try to shape things to meet your wants, what you like, your preferences. And sometimes when it comes to Jesus and the Christian message, is we pretty much have to check our wants at the door. And I know that's a hard message for a lot of people, but I'm telling you, if the people that insist on what they want are the ones that really get themselves into some serious trouble. As a former prison chaplain, I was surrounded on a daily basis and reminded every day of that your wants can get you into a lot of trouble if they go unchecked. There were men, and of course in women's institutions, same for women, where certain individuals decided that what they want was more important than anything or anybody else. Thus, there's a wake of victims and death and brokenness and destruction in their wake, because their wants far exceeded what was natural and good for themselves and for others. And so when we come to Jesus, we have to recognize that we have to do it his way not our way. I joined a group of people 40 some odd years ago, and they made it very clear to me that if I was going to be one of them, it wasn't going to be based upon my likes, my wants, and my needs. I was basically going to have to sit down, shut up, suit up, and do what they told me. And I realized early on that probably was the only way I was going to survive and get out of Marine Corps boot camp. And that's the whole thing about, again, I'm not maybe comparing and contrasting the Marine Corps with Christianity, but I think there are some similarities. The Marine Corps said it back in the slogans of my day, we don't promise you a rose garden. It's not about you. This isn't Burger King. You don't get it your way. And so many times today we have now taken the Christian message and we've kind of almost, it's like genetically modified organisms, GMOs. So like a genetically modified Christianity. We want to splice in the things that we think will make it better. This will make me feel better. This will accommodate me. This will help me in my particular life situation. Whereas instead of looking at it from that perspective, we look at it just right on. It's like as we were looking right in the eyes of Jesus. And Jesus would look you in the eye. He'd look me in the eye and he would say, do you want to follow me? Then pick up your cross and now let's go. That's all he's going to say. That's all he says in this gospel. And that's all he says to us today. So that, my friends, is a sobering message. I know maybe some of you don't want to hear that. I don't like hearing it either sometimes because we all have our own unique likes, wants, and dislikes and things that we think we need and we want. But again, we recognize that Jesus, the Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I shall want. So, today we are all invited to be his disciples. Nobody's being slighted. Nobody's being refused. But there are conditions that we have to be willing to humbly accept. And sometimes it means even putting down certain things in our lives that are contrary to the gospel. So today, I think the good news is that, he does invite us individually to pick up that cross, and you know what your cross is. I know what my cross is. And the times where I have experienced real growth and I've experienced real transformation in my spirituality is not when those things have been quote unquote removed or they've been compromised or, there's been a concession made to accommodate me. The simple reality was when I finally put it down and walked away and to follow Jesus, then things began to get better. The things became more clear. So today, that is that invitation that the Lord, invites each and every one of us to put down the things that are really separating us from him so that we can truly follow him. God bless you today. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.